What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about Ultimates 2, Volume 2, Grand Theft America. This is written by Mark Millar with art by Brian Hitch. This collects issues 7 through 13 of Ultimates Part 2. So essentially, it's the fourth volume of the Millar Hitch Ultimates run. This wraps everything up. And I don't really know if I have a whole lot to say about this volume. I say that and then this will be a 20-minute video, but I can't really think of anything really profound to say. And at least in my reviews of the previous 3 volumes, I felt like I had something to talk about. This cover is a little misleading. It's got like the entire Ultimate Universe here and on the back. You got the X-Men and Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. They are in it, but they don't really play a very big part at all. I wonder if this was a situation. There's a legend that when Kurt Busiek and George Perez were working on the Avengers in the 90s, Kurt Busiek would call for like 5 Avengers in a panel or on a page in a script, and then George Perez would go crazy and draw like 30 Avengers in a scene. And I wonder if that was something like that going on here, where Hitch thought, okay, we're going out with a bang, I might as well really commit to that, and he draws every character in the Ultimate Universe. These teams, Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, they're in this story, but again, they are not, this is not like the big ultimate, no pun intended, ultimate crossover of the Ultimate Universe. This isn't that. This still focuses on the Ultimates. So we last left this series with Thor getting attacked and imprisoned by the Ultimates, and then this jumps forward a couple of months in the future. The Ultimates are attacking various third world nations, at least one nation in the Middle East, but it kind of makes it seem like this happens a few different times. And they are disarming these nations of at least one nation. They talk about having nukes, but they're disarming these nations. And then, like, not even halfway into issue 1, things kick off. Somebody attacks Hawkeye's home and kills his entire family and kidnaps him. And we briefly saw hints that there was a traitor in the midst of the team in the previous volume. Loki told Thor that, and then we saw the traitor talking to Ant-Man. I don't remember if I mentioned that in my review of volume, the previous volume, but someone is betraying the team and kills Hawkeye's family, and everyone thinks has killed Hawkeye. And then it seems like Captain America is the traitor because Fury has secret cameras in Hawkeye's home, and he was able to tap into those, and they see the footage, we do not see the footage, and they're like, oh, it was Captain America. And so then they're thinking, well, this isn't the real Captain America. Whoever is trying to attack the Ultimates, they must have put a fake Captain America in ice and put him out there where Tony's team could find him at the beginning of Volume 1. And so then Captain America is imprisoned, and then this team of, we'll just go ahead and call them supervillains, called the Liberators. They are from various nations that basically don't like that the Ultimates are getting too big for their britches. You've got, let's see, North Korea is involved, China, Russia, and then I think France also, which is weird because in the previous volume when we were introduced to Captain Britain and his dad, we had a whole bunch of like Captain Britain, Captain Italy, and I thought we had Captain France. But then France is, at least this is where some of the Liberators were meeting before they attack America. They were meeting in France, so I assumed that France was also involved, but maybe I misread that. But anyway, basically, it's an evil version of the Ultimates. They, now that Captain America is out of the picture, now that Thor is out of the picture, and then Banner is believed to be dead, these guys, they attack various major cities in America. They want to kill the Ultimates and then kill the president, and they see themselves as, well, we are freeing the people of America, or at least that's what they say. And at least some of them, they are doing this because they legitimately see the Ultimates as a threat to them. The Ultimates has already attacked, there's one guy, I cannot remember his name, but he is from, I believe, a made-up nation, and the Ultimates came and attacked that nation. Scarlet Witch was able to, like, take all of the nukes and just, like, throw them into space. And at one point, this is a little bit of a side rant, she is talking talking about how, I don't know if I can do this. This is huge. And then she does it. She did this already back when she was with the Brotherhood of Mutants in Ultimate X-Men, and that was well before this. I don't know exactly how long ago it was, but she was with the Brotherhood, and then she went to the Ultimates, and she did this exact same thing, attacking a lab and then throwing all their weapons up into space. She did that at one point in the Millar X-Men run. This is written by the same man, so I don't know why. Now suddenly Scarlet Witch is saying, I don't know if I can do this, but anyway, they take all their weapons and discard them, and then this is where I'm a little confused. For some reason, the Ultimates are then evacuating all of the civilians who live in this country. Where they're saying, and I don't know where they're evacuating them to, but they say, we're going to take you somewhere, we'll give you food and shelter, but you can't be where you are right now. Now, I've never been to the Middle East, especially not part of an enemy action, military operation, anything like that. So I don't know how this works, but if you've already disarmed this country, I don't know why the Ultimates then need to move all of the civilians out of their homes. I don't get that, other than they needed character motivation for this guy who basically becomes the opposite number to Captain America in The Liberators. But you could have still had character motivation for him. Some of the others are talking about how, like Thor at one point is talking to Tony after Thor's been in prison, and he says, you know, you guys, any nation that has weapons, you guys are just going to go in and take their weapons away. And then somebody says, I don't remember who says it, that America has enough weapons, they could bomb every country in the world, basically kill everybody. It's okay for them to have weapons, it's not okay for every other country to have weapons. So you could have had this guy be like a scrawny 90-pound scientist working at one of these facilities that the Ultimates attack, and then he feels like legitimately these guys are a threat, and then he becomes the opposite number to Captain America. But for some reason, I guess they needed him to be a farmhand, and then he's upset that the Ultimates are doing this, and so then he goes through the same super soldier serum, which doesn't make sense because we were told again and again in this series that Steve was pretty much the magic number when it came to the super soldier serum, that nobody else was able to react in the same way that he was. In fact, there was one of the Ultimate Annuals where they gave somebody super soldier serum and then it killed him. They gave somebody super soldier serum. And so I don't know why this guy is okay. Now, there were some other like side members of the Liberators, and we were told that they have a special suit that gives them like flight and super strength, but then it burns their bodies out. So maybe that same thing was going to happen to this guy. I don't know. But anyway, they attack America and they're destroying all these cities, and then at one point, this is where like you could look at these guys and say, well, they have a legitimate point for doing what they're doing. The Ultimates attack their homes with little provocation, and now they are just giving as good as they got, and they're trying to remove what they see as a threat. You have the leader of the team, you could see that he thinks that. But then some of these others are just evil, crazy supervillains. At one point, when they start to lose, one of them, I think it's Crimson Dynamo, he says, just kill all the civilians. Any civilians you find, just kill them. So these guys, it feels kind of divided on what this book wants us to think about the bad guys and also the good guys. Because you have some of them, like the leader, Captain Middle East, he's not called that, but I'll call him that. He says, we're not going to kill any civilians. They should not be punished for what their leaders are doing. And then Crimson Dynamo says, screw it, let's just kill all of the civilians. And then, on the other hand, you've got the good guys. And at one point, Captain Middle East says, like, are you going to execute me? And Captain America says, we don't do that here. Or I'm not going to execute you without a trial, is kind of what he's saying. And then, at one point, Captain America is getting beaten, and then Hulk takes, Hulk is alive, by the way, we knew that already. He takes Steve's shield, and then decapitates the guy's hands, so then he's unarmed, no pun intended, and then Steve takes his weapon, whatever weapon this guy had, it kind of looks like Darth Maul's lightsaber, and then he just stabs the guy. And, okay, so you did execute the guy, even though you said you weren't going to do that. And so, at the end of the book, all of the main Ultimates, they quit, basically saying we cannot be tools used for, they don't say corrupt, but corrupt American policy. We cannot be part of this anymore. We're still going to save the world. We're not just going to be heroes for America, but we're not going to be employed by the government anymore. And that's like one of the very last things of the book. Okay, so it seems like they all kind of learned a lesson, like, hey, this was bad, even though Thor was telling them for a very long time, hey, this is bad, and nobody listened to him. But then also, Steve is like, screw you, guy. I'm gonna just execute you. You have no hands. You literally pose no threat to anybody. But I'm gonna stab you in the heart because I don't know. I feel like it. And so I don't know. It kind of feels like the book and its creators don't really know what to do here. The traitor in the team is the Black Widow, and that reveal is incredibly disappointing. For one, in the previous volume, somebody is talking to Ant-Man. We don't know who it is, and we see their hand. Their skin color looks kind of dark, like, okay, maybe that's Nick Fury. The hand kind of looks like a man's hand, but maybe not. And then Ant-Man says, I never would have thought you would be a traitor. And then we find out in this book it's Natasha. And then she basically kind of pokes fun at the idea of like, oh, you didn't expect me to be the traitor? I'm a Russian spy. LOL, you're an idiot. Okay, then why did Henry say, I never expected you to betray the team? And then also, she told Ant-Man in the previous volume, I didn't sign up for invading other nations. So she seems to have a pretty good reason for being the mole. But then she also secretly seduced Tony because she wants all his money. And then she seems pretty cavalier with killing Hawkeye's family and also Tony's butler, and she doesn't really seem to care about any of that. It would have been interesting if the mole was somebody who actually had a legitimate motivation for betraying the team. And we're led to believe early on that it's Captain America because Loki, he is part of the Liberators, and he magicked the security footage to make it look like Steve was the one who killed Hawkeye's family. And we, the audience, even if you really hate the Ultimate version of Captain America, we, the audience, or at least I, was not fooled for 1 second because while this is happening, Steve has found out that Janet is secretly seeing Hank on the side, and then he goes and he's talking with Bucky about it, and he's crying about how, I don't have any friends anymore. I should have never been brought out of the ice. And it's a really emotional scene, and I can't believe that this guy would also be killing Hawkeye's family and, like, twirling his mustache while doing it. Unless there was, like, a Manchurian Candidate thing going on where he didn't know that he was killing Hawkeye's family, and that could have worked if they wanted to do that, but they didn't make it seem like that was what was going on. Nick Fury, after they capture Captain America, he comes in and he's like, you guys were probably just laughing in our faces. Joke's on you. And then he's, like, punching Steve. But we just saw this guy like bare his soul to his childhood friend, and I don't believe that this guy's a traitor. Now, I think it would have been interesting if Steve was a traitor, if he comes out of the 1940s and says, look, we did, like, kind of like in The Winter Soldier, we did some stuff that we weren't proud of in World War II, but what you're doing now is not okay. If Steve came out and said, I do not like the direction this country is going, I'm going to betray the team, I think that would have been really interesting, and that would have had a lasting effect on the Ultimate Universe. As is, it didn't really feel like this book had a lot of stakes at the end. Nick Fury loses his arm, and then the next time I see him is in either Ultimate Origins, which that had flashbacks of him. I don't remember if it had him in the present day. I don't think so. But then in Ultimate Avengers, he has both his arms, so I guess he gets better in between comics. Maybe they referenced that he got a prosthetic arm in Ultimates 3. I never read Ultimates 3. But Nick Fury loses an arm. Natasha dies. Hawkeye's family dies, but it still feels like everybody came out of this basically okay, and nothing really happened at the end. Several cities are pretty much not quite destroyed, but sustained some heavy damage, and in one of the Ultimates annuals, we do see a little bit of the cleanup in the aftermath of this. But I feel like when you get to Ultimates 3, they probably are not really referencing this anymore, and I feel like if you had Ultimate Captain America be the traitor, that would have felt much bigger than, oh, it was some side character who wasn't even introduced until halfway through the previous series. And then she didn't really have a whole lot of screen time in the series, so it doesn't really carry the weight that Millar and Hitch probably thought that it did. I guess I did have some stuff to say about this book. It's fine. It's not my favorite of the series. I think my favorite is still the previous volume. This is continuing the pattern that I mentioned in previous Ultimates books, where Ultimates Volume 1, very little action. It was a whole lot of setup and introducing characters. Volume 2, a whole lot of action. Very little talky stuff in that volume. Ultimates 2, Volume 1 was a whole lot of, that one was actually two smaller stories strung together, but it didn't feel like it had as much action. Basically, the biggest action scene was the fight with Thor, and then this one, like, not even halfway through page 1, you start getting action stuff happening. So this is continuing the very unbalanced ratio of, like, non-action to action stuff in this series. Kind of weird to me, anyway. I feel like Millar has had better pacing in some of the stuff that he's written before, but in this series, not so much. So those are my thoughts on Ultimates 2, Volume 2, Grand Theft America. Hope you guys like this volume, and I will be back in the future to talk about something else. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.